Greetings, nerds. This is Being a Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I don't have COVID, but I don't know when I'm going to get the next Batman movie.
Oh, I know. 2 days in from when they resumed filming, and not only did someone come down with it, but Battinson himself.
So they have resumed filming, though. They're just not filming the scenes that he's in.
No, I think so. So that was the initial story, but then I saw an update to that where, given that there was a positive test on set, I think everybody's gone back into quarantine for a short period of time.
And see, I saw that news backwards.
Yeah.
I thought the exact opposite. So who really knows what is happening with that set? It kind of it was a damper, and I feel almost as if this news really kicked off the long holiday weekend, and everyone is still on such a high from the dome. So it was kind of hard to swallow, but and on that note, we also have Warner Brothers media saying that Ray Fisher is not cooperating with the investigation of his claims of mistreatment by Joss Whedon, Jeff Johns, and others during Justice League filming. And he responds that he did meet with the investigators. So there is also some wishy-washy things happening on that front as well.
Yeah, that one that's a very there's a lot going on with that story because because Warner, they did the Friday evening news stuff right, as you said, right before the holiday. Things are still on a high from DC Fandom Part One, and then we get the news that he didn't cooperate, and then over the weekend, Ray Fisher responds on his Instagram account showing that, I think he showed an email or that he and his representatives with the Screen Actors Guild and others did try to meet with the investigators. And I think the way the things were starting to unfold, I think it sounds like he did not like the way that the investigation was proceeding. So I think they just stopped at that point. And then there was also some back and forth as far as whether or not Walter Hamada, who is, I guess, head of DC Films now, was engaged with this and throwing people under the bus. And there was a lot of back and forth. He said, she said, with between Fisher's camp and the DC folks. And also Fisher talked about how Jeff Johns made veiled threats to him about ending his career and saying they were going to have other people portray Cyborg and other DC projects, which of course we did get that with Jovian Wade with Doom Patrol on DC Universe. So it's just a lot to unpack with this particular story. And right now, the other thing is too, apparently Fisher is trying to negotiate to appear in future DC projects. So it's just a lot going on with this particular story. And then when you see that Fisher story, and then of course, I can't help but think about earlier last week, John Boyega and his GQ interview he had with Star Wars, and how he felt after filming, and especially after the last film, and how he felt that the characters of color got marginalized and pushed to the side, especially how he started out being sort of a heavy part of the marketing, and then by the third film, they just everyone, he felt like, from himself to Kelly Tran to even Oscar Isaac, were kind of pushed to the side. It was a very interesting weekend in race relations in film, with when you look at the Ray Fisher stuff and John's
big
comments.
Franchises.
Yeah,
like
and big studios,
globally known franchises where they were pushing the narrative that, oh, we're inclusive. See, we look at who we're casting for these roles. We're inclusive. And look at what we have for these actors who are of color. And then they're crummy movies at the end of the day. They're just not good movies. And I also I do wonder how much of that is due to these are people of color versus all of these the history around franchises and the actors who come on board and after the first one never really want to return to that set
Yeah,
but have
yeah,
to contracts. I mean, it's kind of historic at this moment where we have everything that came out of the Amazing Spider-Man with like Andrew Garfield and him. He like never wants to do a franchise again.
yeah.
And then you have Harrison Ford who wanted to get killed off immediately in the first trilogy.
Yep,
And
yep.
all of these people who they needed to make a name and then they don't want anything to do with it. So I wonder what is the how much of it is due to the systemic racism that we do know exists in
Right.
Hollywood. We do
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
And then how much of it is just the Hollywood machine of
yeah,
taking these franchises and reusing them to a point where the movies are just downright bad.
yeah. Bad or just a grind of having to
Yeah.
carry the weight of that franchise. And when you look at, I think even Daisy Ridley has stepped away from it very obviously, and even John noted he was very thankful for the experience, and it was clearly a huge global stepping stone
Right.
for him.
Right.
But I think it's just the nature of those big mega franchises, the toll it takes on some actors, not only from a professional standpoint, as far as just the grind of having the weight of carrying it,
Right.
but and some people are comfortable with that, and some are not. So I think a lot of it does depend on how people are wired too. Some people can handle that, some people can't, and some people may feel that it stifles them creatively, and they don't want to get locked into something and want to move on and do something else. So it's a lot of factors that go into it. But but I think uh, getting back to Ray Fisher and what's going on with DC, it'll be interesting to see how all this unfolds, especially given his attempts to, I think, to try to continue to work in the DC and Warner Studios system, and as they move forward with future projects with this character Cyborg, and um, and also given that Jeff Johns and so many others are very powerful folks within the system, and how they treat if they do substantiate any type of misconduct, how does Warner treat those individuals? Because
Yeah. Yeah. I almost want to tell Ray, get out now.
yeah, yeah,
Go to another studio because this just looks bad on Warner Brothers. And the sooner you get out of it, the more bad and shade is thrown on them with everything. So and Snyder will probably do a documentary and release the Snyder cut all about it. I don't know.
he probably will. Speaking, I will be. It will be given that part two of DC fandom is this upcoming weekend. It will be nice to see some of the other things like Black Lightning and Supergirl. And well, I don't know if Supergirl is going to have Superman and Lois, I think, and some of the other shows that Doom Patrol will be a part of that this weekend. So it'll be nice to have some other DC properties other than this huge shadow of the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
Over and over.
Well,
with
you
the
got to
upcoming event.
remind that the dome is this weekend.
Yeah.
Don't hurt.
Yes. That's why I'm here. I'm always here for you, my friend.
So moving on from movie franchises and into actually a podcast, YouTube franchise, whatever you want to call Schmoes know. The empire that Christian Harloff and Mark Ellis has built. They released a new lineup, and because both Will and I are fans and tend to check out a lot of their stuff, we wanted to go through it. And if you haven't heard of them, I do strongly encourage you to check out the SNN and the Schmoedown Entertainment Network on YouTube and on podcasts.
Yep.
And so Christian announced a few new shows, a few old shows. And so the big ones were My Movies with Dan Murrell,
Mm-hmm.
Innergeekdome with Winston Marshall, and then coming up next, which is their preview pre-fight Schmoedown experience podcast.
Yeah.
The only one I'm interested in is Innergeekdome. And that's just because I love Winston.
Yeah.
I don't know how he did it. I do not know how he is able to come on, and he started on Collider and slowly build just this way of being a very credible host who can play into Christian's antics that sometimes just drive me crazy.
Yep.
But also really have in-depth conversations about everything and with anyone, and always has something to say. So he's not like a wallflower either.
Totally not.
So I'm really glad he got a show, and it is one that I'm planning on watching because it's also different.
Yeah.
It is about the stuff that we tend to talk about, but more of specific movies and lines and character moments and plot points that are all derived from the Innergeekdom Schmoedown.
Yeah. So just to set people up for, if you haven't, Innergeekdom it truly is what it sounds like. It's a cross section of so many different topics. Where just like us on this show, where we'll go from DC to Marvel to Star Wars to Star Trek to you name it. And his new show going to really highlight that portion of the Schmoedown. I think it's going to be, if I recall, a 2-hour show weekly. I think part of it will, as we noted, focus on a lot of those topics, and then I think the second half is going to be, I think, guests or maybe we'll take questions and stuff from the audience. And so yeah, I that's definitely one I am definitely looking forward to. I know if another show that Winston does is Blurs in the Hood with Jay Washington, and that show is hilarious. It comes on every Tuesday afternoon on YouTube, and those brothers, I mean, they have me like rolling on the floor. Sometimes other folks from the SNN network of characters like John Roca showed up on there. Roxy Stryer has been on their show. They've also had the Blurred Girl. Many folks probably familiar with her work from the Sci-Fi channel, and so many of, and also just their bits during the week. So I'm very happy for Winston that he got this particular show, and I'm also looking forward to the Dan Murrell show too. I think it's a little bit different from some of the things we've seen in this space, and but I like Dan. Period. I mean, I think I've enjoyed his days from when he was on Screen Junkie. So, I'm like you. Winston's definitely the one I'll definitely will not miss. The others, it's interesting seeing Christian build his SEN empire after the whole Collider, after he left Collider, and really in a very short period of time, especially with their partnership with the entertainment company that produces Walking Dead. Blanking on the name right now. I can't remember the name, but
oh my God.
yeah. But my point being, I mean, he's in a short amount of time since he's left Clotter, he has really built up his own entertainment empire, especially given that everyone's been handicapped with COVID in the entertainment sector, and in particular, been able to refashion a Schmoedown into a YouTube, not being able to do it in the studio, but do it via Zoom call and StreamYard. Right. It's been amazing what they've been able to do.
Yeah. I mean, the one announcement that I'm kind of mad he didn't do is the morning show is great. The everyday, the crew, some of the regulars, now John and him are alternating weeks. But what I still want and badly think that he needs to do is have the have a Thursday night show, 2 hours, old Schmo knows movie show. Like that was so good, and it got so many freaking views in comparison to what. So I'm happy he's branching out, but I really wish that part of the expansion would have been having a Thursday night show like that, where it's basically the clubhouse again. But and as for Dan Murrell, I like Dan Murrell. Here's my thing. I honestly don't think this is a new idea. I think it's an old idea that's repackaged. And as much as I like Dan, he's too much of a straight guy in terms of where he falls when he's on a show with multiple hosts. And so I was really interested to hear who would be co-hosting, and it worries me that, especially the first one, there is no co-host. I'm like, well, what?
Yeah.
Dan's entertaining. He has a following, but still, he needs somebody to bounce off of him.
True. That is true. That is
just
true.
my opinion.
Yeah.
But all right, so enough about Scene a Nerd and giving them, or not Scene a Nerd. They're so.
We hope
names.
We hope to be. One day we maybe will be as big as the Schmoedown Entertainment Network. We're working our way there.
Maybe. All right. So we do have a big topic to cover tonight. Spoiler warning is on, because we got the first 3 episodes of The Boys to cover season 2. The boys are back in town.
Definitely.
And they start off the very first episode with saying, "Hey, Giancarlo Esposito is the man who's going to be behind Vought."
Yep.
Here you go, everyone. I'm like, oh my God. As soon as I saw his face, I'm like, you're in everything.
He is. Yep. He is in everything, but whenever he is in it, you can guarantee he's going to bring an awesome performance, and he has not disappointed so far.
Right. I mean, as soon as he has that confrontation with Homelander, I think at the very end of the episode, you're like, yeah, of course you cast him to be the head of Vought, because we're dealing with Homelander. The most.
And he speaks perfect American.
Yeah. Perfect American. So have you been following on this conspiracy that his character, Stan Edgar, is actually also has powers?
I don't know if I mean, it would make sense from a standpoint of being willing to stand up to Homelander, that he would have powers. But then again, given the nature of Edgar, his arrogance and just sheer force of will is such that he, even if he doesn't have powers, he knows, and he puts Homelander in his place really fast, that, hey, you're not Vought. Vought is a pharmaceutical company. And we can move from the 7 and make you guys completely irrelevant at the drop of a hat. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's his power over Homelander. And even though Homelander could easily irate him to death without a moment's hesitation, I think Homelander, as dense as he is, still gets the point that without Vought, they're nothing. Without the money, without the resources, without the PR, all the things that go along with it being a superhero corporation, subsidiary in this multinational corporation, they're nothing without Vought.
Right. I don't think Homelander is dense. I mean, when you compare him to, I don't know, a character such as the Deep.
Well, no. Yeah, well, everybody's smarter than, even Huey's better than the Deep.
He's not. He wasn't born yesterday, so he does have that. It was funny because I think everyone going into season 2 is very cautious that, okay, will this be at the same level as season 1, or will it be better or worse? And so far, for all 3 episodes, I think that they are on pace with the first season.
Yeah.
And to recapture that tone, but not make it feel repetitive. This season, we already know within the first 3 episodes that these characters are, yes, they're going after Vought, and the boys are after the Soups. The Soups are after the boys. But they have also expanded their world to introduce a few new characters, and we will get to Stormfront eventually.
Yep.
But what were some of your standout moments from the first episode?
So I think a couple of the standout moments of the episode for me was I do think they did indeed have not had any fall off from season 1.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think a couple things that stood out for me was Homelander utilized manipulating uh, Ashley to basically
Oh
be
God.
to be his basically his intermediary for into the corporation. And to your point about him not being dense, I mean, this is where Homelander is very good and very savvy about using his position to get what he needs, even though she did walk in on him in a very awkward moment when he found Madeline's breast milk, which I was just like, oh God, here
Isn't it funny how
yeah,
obsessed
yeah,
with breast milk he is, and
yeah.
yet we also have a character on Team the Boys
Mhm.
called Mother's Milk.
Mother's milk, yep. Exactly.
What is going to happen when he realizes that that's the character's name?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're going into some strange places there, but if we did, but I think the thing that did, so that was one of the just as far as interesting character moments with Homelander and his fetish with breast milk was one of the standout. The true standout moment for me was just the Black Noir mission at the very beginning of the episode, because we got some teases of how awesome and how Black Noir as a character is in season 1, but seeing him in action and taking out the terrorist group that was at the very beginning, and just going through that camp with just this reckless abandon, like just a wrecking ball, and taking everything out, and then that was a moment where I was like, "Yep, the boys are back," because it had every single element from over the top action, over the top gore, over the top fire. It had everything. So that was another moment that was just perfect opening, set the tone for the episode for me.
And to remind us what happened in the first season,
Mhm.
because unless you've rewatched the first season, I didn't. It could have been just basic dialogue saying, "Oh yeah, remember how we gave internationals?"
Mhm.
We basically spread, what is it called?
Compound Compound V.
Compound V across the world so that we could get into the military. And
Mhm.
so now the super terrorists, I'm sorry, I have to correct that, super villains we are going after, we created. So
Yeah.
I love how they use that sequence
Yeah.
to bring us back to what happened without really any exposition.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised, Will, because I could have sworn, because you brought up Ashley, I thought you were going to go with the other standout moment of this episode, the blind moment.
Well,
I
I
mean,
was getting there. Yeah.
this show to this show, because it was so on tempo for them to try to include a disabled soup
Mhm.
on Team 7 because of publicity.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
and I'm sure, and I hope I wasn't the only one, who jumped out of their chair as soon as Homelander disabled the disabled person.
Yeah. It was so on brand. It was so on brand. And I know there's been a lot of thought pieces written out there this weekend about how this show, of course, does those things as far as taking the issue of the day and showing and lampooning it, but also uh, again, making it relevant and using it as a way to show the the shallowness of corporate PR and corporate America, and that was one of those moments in episode 2. I know we'll get to that one with the girls get it done. I couldn't help but think of like the NBA and Black Lives Matter and everything being plastered on the court, or some company like, oh yeah, we're going to take Aunt Jemima off the shelf because not that anyone asked them to, but this is what we do because we're so enlightened. I mean, these are the kinds of things that this show just, it's like, you couldn't tell me that they filmed this like in late 2019. It's like they had a crystal ball to like see all the stuff that we are dealing with now in 2020.
I also think, in retrospectively, that scene, having it placed in the first episode, knowing they're going to drop the first 3 episodes, is a very good parallel to something Stormfront does to a character at the end of the 3rd episode.
Yes.
And so it kind of, and it makes that moment so much more haunting, and her villainy so more clearly highlighted because we've seen Homelander do something parallel.
Yeah.
So I think that is also a narrative genius of the writers to make these characters and to create that build up and that parallelism as we move forward with the rest of the season.
Yeah. And then my other standout was and also, like you said, a good way to narratively bring us full circle from the story in the first season was Translucent's funeral.
You mean the empty, the clear glass?
The clear glass. Yeah.
I just, I know the Supes are villains. I get it, but Homelander is so. Oh, man. Okay, I can't. But you're absolutely right.
Yep. Starlight singing.
Yes. As soon as she came out singing, I was, oh my god.
Yeah.
And she's in a very precarious place too.
Yeah.
I mean, she, through her relationship with Huey, she has seen now the bad side of Vought and recognizes that they are made, they're not born this way.
Right.
And so she is now more now than ever really is a rat in the 7 and someone who's looking at undermining Vought and potentially the 7 altogether as she wants to exploit them. And so for the first 3 episodes, it's all about getting Compound V and exposing this to the world, which and I love right now what they're doing with her and A-Train as well.
Yeah. I know they teased that during Comic-Con, and I was wondering how it was going to roll, but we of course, A-Train, at least in the first episode, is still in a coma from his heart attack. That Huey and Starlight actually saved his life at the end of the season 1. So, but I did like how whenever we get to episode 2, and he resurfaces, and how Starlight, in her plan of trying to show the world what Compound V is actually, and bringing down company from the inside. Her, using A-Train's. I had forgotten about A-Train had shot up his girlfriend in the first season, but utilizing that as leverage over him whenever he was like going to call her out for her role in stealing the V. So I mean, so it was really a good game of chess between these two characters to see who was going to blink first, and how each one of them could easily uh, turn the other in, but it basically is a stalemate, and at some point, whoever is careless is going to be the one that blinks, which we may have seen that in episode 3.
Yeah, I think that the panel spoiled a lot for me because a lot of what they said, I was watching these episodes through a lens of, okay, when are they going to get to this? When are they? Okay, I see what they're doing now because they said this during the. So I couldn't. It was almost as if I had the panel playing in the background while I watched these episodes.
I did too.
So,
I did too.
Yeah, it was a different experience than opposed to when I first sat down to watch the first season and knew nothing about it and was completely caught off guard. And that's not to its detriment. It just I was looking for things, and so I a lot of what I have to say comes from also that knowledge of what was discussed during the panel.
Yeah.
So as soon as A-Train came whooshing back onto the scene, and immediately, like a magnet, it's just all over Starlight. And what are you doing? What did he put in your boot?
Yep, exactly.
Got there. I'm a stalker all of a sudden. But I like how they also very subtly make us understand why he doesn't want this to get out.
Yeah.
It's something important to what the show is all about doing is that I don't know if they even talked about in the first season if it's true that Annie does come from money or not. But we know A-Train doesn't.
Right.
And so all he has is what Vought has given him, very much like Homelander, who throughout these 3 episodes is kind of caught between 2 homes. He is caught between Vought, the family, and where he's learned, like, these people raised me in a sense. These people made me who I am. I'm up above them, but they're also my family. There's that conversation with Maeve. And then the family he wants to have with Rebecca and his son Ryan, which is also in a community monitored heavily by Vought.
Yep. Very heavily. Like
the worst version of the Truman Show you could ever ask for.
Yeah.
That's that place.
Vaught's everywhere.
Homelander has free reign over it as long as Vaught's involved. And oh man. But yeah, I'm hopefully I'm thinking they're gonna become allies and ultimately friends. And he's gonna be involved with the continued separation between her and Huey, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right about that. As they move forward, that's going to definitely play out. And Huey, I can't recall from again. I haven't rewatched season 1, but did he have Billy Joel playing like all the time in season 1? Because
no.
Okay,
that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
For them forever to get to the point. But I got like, what? It was also an interesting, two more things about the first episode.
Yeah.
One, they do mention Vought Industries has ties to World War II and Hitler.
Yep.
Which is brilliant because that is so comic book.
So comic book, and then they also drop a reference to Soldier Boy,
yeah,
which was as we know, season 3 he will be there, and Jensen Ackles will be portraying him. So that was a nice little Easter egg to set things up for the 3rd season.
and the last note is the decision not to really have Billy the Butcher appear in the 1st episode until the very, very end.
Yeah, that was the other thing that was surprising for me as well. That I was like, where's Butcher? And I thought that was, looking back on it now, that I'm actually glad that they did leave it that way, and because it of course, Butcher was referenced because they had the media set the story that it was Butcher who killed Madeline, and obviously, as we know from season 1, it was actually Homelander who did it. But again, that's what led to the boys going underground, because of him, Butcher, being framed for Madeline's murder, and then also the Rayner, the CIA agent, randomly head explodes, and figuring out which soup was the one that was behind that.
I feel like it was Noir.
It probably was. I mean, it makes the most sense that it would probably be him.
Because I almost think that there is one of the people he was attacking in that opening sequence. Basically, it looked like their head just exploded out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I remember. So I think that's who did it. I'm not sure. I'm also not sure why they didn't attack the boys, but I don't know. It does lead us into the 2nd episode with Billy coming back and us figuring out that basically what happened was Rebecca made a deal with Homelander to keep Billy alive, and then he could be a part of his son's life. And Billy has some notes. He frantically wrote some notes, but what I was also caught off guard about Billy, not just not being in that 1st episode until the end, but also how they've made it very clear he is on a different mission. Mm-hmm. And that separate mission puts him at odds with the very people who he has aligned himself with, and he needs to be successful. And I really like that too, because I don't think that there really is supposed to be a villain or a super terrorist in this show.
They're all evil.
I think they're all supposed to be pieces of crap.
Yep. I think, hold up. People suck.
Well, I don't know if it's people suck. People are selfish.
Yeah.
Everyone wants what they want.
Yeah.
And if what they want doesn't align with somebody else, well, then all of a sudden you're my enemy. You're not my friend. Mm-hmm. Because you're going to get in my way. Because as much as Huey wants to get mad at Butcher about his willing to sacrifice anyone to get back to his wife, I would argue Huey's probably doing the same to get back with Annie.
Oh, he is. I mean, they call Mother's Milk. I mean, they call him out on it. How reckless he is by going up when they were in the underground, going on the street to get back with Annie.
Yeah. They're just lovesick fools.
Yeah, they pretty Butcher and Huey are more similar than they recognize.
Now, granted, both of those girls also have one other thing in common. They're in close proximity to Homelander, so we get it.
Yeah.
We very much get the concern. Okay.
Yeah.
But on top of that tension, the writers decided to do a 1-up, and they also introduce Kamiko's brother as a smuggled in super terrorist who then finds himself as a bargaining piece for Butcher and the CIA, which which just adds this other dimension because yeah, Kimiko didn't start off with them, but at this point, she is a part of their clan.
Yeah.
And to the point where she also helps them kind of neutralize her brother so that they could start the transportation, even though I don't know how much she knew or if she figured out that then she would. I don't know what her thought process there was, but it was interesting how that all played out.
Yeah, yeah, and again, I think part of it is just what I try to remember back to the first season because I think the Frenchie and Mother's Milk and the team rescue her from that camp, if I
Yep.
recall. So I think she feels some indebtedness to them,
Yeah.
and but also, she also still feels, she's the elder sister, so she feels that she has to also protect her baby brother and if getting him to the CIA actually protects him, that so she can serve that mission of protecting her brother as well, instead of leaving him up to the devices of Homelander and the other suits. Because obviously, if they get him, he is as good as dead.
Right. Right. I need the actress who plays Kamiko and the actor who plays Frenchie to be cast in some romantic comedy because they have great chemistry.
They do.
And I just want to see.
It's been a while since you've been able to make a video, so you need.
I just want to see some love and not
Yeah.
in this screwed up environment where
Yeah.
things are always getting in the way.
Hard to make a Sarah fan bid from the boys.
No, that won't happen. But not much to work with here.
Yeah.
Oh man. So on the whole love and unrequited love front, Maeve and Homelander. What I so it's pretty clear at one point they were together.
They worked together. I think they also made them a super couple as well, as far as the PR side, and as well. So I think there were multiple. Not only I think there was a personal relationship there, but also I think there was a business creation there also.
Right. It just it's so vague though where the lines are. And granted, everything with Homelander's emotions, you just can't read it, and that's what makes him that much more terrifying. Because on one hand, she references instances of his jealousy and what he's done to people, and what he's made her do to people who he feels as a threat is to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
yeah.
we also know he raped Rebecca,
Mm-hmm.
and he wants to be Ryan's father. So I don't know. It's just a weird thing that they keep stringing along, and I'm wondering if at some point we're going to get a flashback or something.
We might. I mean, I know they've had some exposition, and we got that a little bit in this episode when Maeve was talking with her ex-girlfriend in the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
And finally confesses the reason why she's been so protective and so vague about her with everyone is because of Homelander, uh, just killing someone because of something that happened at an event.
Yeah.
And just because of his jealousy. So so yeah, it is hard to. I mean, I think I think from a corporate standpoint, they think they still play that up as far as the relationship there. But yeah, really, behind the scenes, clearly she's Homelander and Maeve are just they're on 7 together, but that's about it.
Yeah. Interesting. And while all of this is going on in the tower, we have the Deep, who is still in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
And he is going through some therapy.
Scientologist much?
And they give him some shrooms. And then he has a bit of some dialogue with his gills.
Oh God, okay. that I couldn't watch that. Every time the Gil started singing or talking to him, my eyes just kind of looked away from the screen. It just creeped me out.
Really?
It did. It totally did.
Wow.
It
I don't know what it means, and I had no problem watching that. I thought it was hilarious,
it was
but
hilarious, and especially when you start singing "You Are So Beautiful."
oh yeah.
But yeah, it just kind of creeped me out.
It I for whatever reason though, I kept thinking about how e- I I mean, they really do make you understand why he treated Annie the way he did in the first season.
Mhm. They do.
And not to say that what he did was acceptable. No.
No.
Heck no. But to understand that psychology was a really good move to not make him redeemable, but just to like give you shed some light on why it happened, what his history is.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, he's a superhero, he's on the seven, but he also got kicked off for misconduct, and it has more to do with him than anyone else because he is ashamed of his body and
Yeah.
he goes through and it was just like an I don't know. I liked it. I liked it more when the whale died and he had that brief exchange with Homelander. I want more scenes between those two actors because they are hilarious together.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And this leads us to my final note about the second episode. And I kid you not, on my rundown when I was writing about the second episode, I have a note and I'm like, okay, I'm so freaking confused about Stormfront. Because and I've heard other people suggest that she was being annoying. I didn't get that too much. She she was a presence.
Mhm.
She had a voice, very opinionated, did not appreciate how Vought likes to portray the females of the seven or how they or their scripts about movies, but I thought that was all pretty on point with me too.
Yeah.
And so at this point, I was just thinking to myself, okay, when is she gonna turn? Because we could have sworn she was gonna be a white supremacist.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
hold on. She is. Doesn't happen yet.
Nope. But I think that was a good move by the writers, actually, by introducing her that way, of basically giving a big middle finger to Vault. I mean, even from the moment whenever was first on the scene, where she's on Instagram Live talking to and introduces herself to Stormfront and Maeve, and basically forces him into a situation to where where he's just like, what the hell?
I
What?
think she heard about the blind guy. I think
Yeah,
she heard about the blind guy and said, "Okay, I'm gonna get him on camera," and
yeah,
then he can't do anything.
yeah. He can't do anything to me. But apparently, Stormfront and is the one character that can hold her own with Homelander. But I think it was because clearly hearing the name Stormfront, folks will think, oh yeah, she's going to be a white supremacist and all. But because that is in real life, I mean that is the name of a neo-Nazi group. But uh, but by setting her up as someone who is like calling out the corporate BS on this on the Girls Get It Done or whatever it was called, and how shallow and how uh, they were just seizing on Annie's assault for and then trying to twist it into this. Look how progressive we are, and we're going to put all these great women in front of this and team, but yet we'll still sexualize them in their costumes. But we'll do it because we're doing it in a progressive way. And so, Stormfront's basically like calling BS on, so I love that way they set that up, especially when they were filming all those PR shoots and she was just not being a team player. And because whenever we do eventually get the reveal, it makes it a more nuanced villain than just twirling the beard, coming out of the gate evil.
Well, it's a different act.
Yeah.
I mean, we see Homelander, right? Homelander has been acting for forever, but when the cameras are off, he'll beat a blind guy to death.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm still going back to that.
Yeah, you will. He will.
He will. But she, on the other hand, when the cameras are off, she is very targeted about who is beneath her. And discriminates about, and so it's weird to, I don't even know, and this will be fascinating to talk about with the upcoming episodes about who is more of a villain, Stormfront or Homelander, and who is more, because Homelander convinces his kid,
yeah,
you are a god.
Yeah. He pushes him off the roof to do it, but
Yeah, and the kid does not fly.
Yeah.
Spoiler, it doesn't work that way. So it'll be interesting to see that juxtaposition about with those, and it's a very nuanced and it's a very minor difference. But it's gonna make a big, and it seems, it appears to be more significant, but when we break it down, it's okay. So she discriminates, but Homelander, he doesn't care. If you get in his way, he will kill you. So what is that? I like that. I like how, and you're absolutely right. I also think they did it because Aya Cash has been in a lot of different things over the past few years, and she has never played the villain. And so the Stormfront we see in the first 2 episodes mirrors a lot of her other characters. That is her pigeonhole. So I was like, oh, this is Aya, okay. And then we see that moment where it's not her anymore. It is Stormfront. It is this alter ego. And man, when was the last time you heard a Pippa Longstocking reference?
Oh,
I haven't heard one since Gilmore Girls.
Well, I didn't watch Gilmore Girls, but it's been a long time for me since I was like, Pippi Longstockings. That would talk about a pull callback.
Yeah, I was just like, whoa, that came out of left field.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so now for the big episode, the final one. It's the chase. We have so many great moments in such a short period of time, though, where and it feels as if the first 3 episodes all build up to this chase in the tunnels.
Yeah.
And you have the boys coming face to face with the Supes again, and we have Homelander almost make Annie kill Huey.
Yeah.
And in that moment, the only reason why he doesn't is because Billy uses Kenji to cast his powers and basically ask Homelander to find the center of the earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was your take on that scene and sequence?
So, I have to go back to the beginning of the episode with Huey on the boat and calling Annie again. And again, that unrequited love, because again, and his second wind, the channel the Billy Joel song again, and so clearly he still loves her, but and it really sets whenever they do get to that moment where Homelander wants Annie to kill Huey, it that conflict there is really strong because even though prior to that moment she uh, really hasn't she still hasn't gotten over Huey lying to her to get to the V and using her to get to the V. At that moment, she does. You can see that conflict because even though she's pissed off at him about that, she does still care for him.
Right.
And so I think that was that was a very powerful. The third episode was just from start to finish was just a super powerful episode, and that particular moment really stood out for me because it really um, one it showed the dynamic between Huey and Annie, but also it showed also that Butcher also heard what Mother's Milk was trying to talk to him about earlier, as far as he's your canary, and he's going to be that one individual who will keep you from completely losing it all and lose touch with whatever humanity Butcher has.
So Mother's Milk didn't buy into Huey is Katniss.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Great wife. Yeah, I love that moment. And just when you think it can't get better or can't get worse, I should say, you have Kenji and Kimiko run off, encounter Stormfront. Stormfront chases after them, and then into an apartment complex and just kills civilians who are all of color.
Yep.
And then gets to the and she has there is no conscience, there's no humanity in it. It's I don't need to do this, but but I'm going to kill you anyway. It wasn't even a thought. It was just that, and they didn't really stand a chance. I mean, not the civil. Of course, the civilians didn't stand a chance, but Kimiko and Kenji, they got some shots in, but Stormfront was going to win that fight no matter what. And when she says, "I just want to see the light go out. Open your eyes." Oh.
Oh, that was I was like, okay. So Homelander's on one level by like putting my hand up. She's like at a next level of this like evil because that was, and that just shows. And another thing too, they did do a gender swap with Homelander, but with Stormfront, because in the comics Stormfront's actually male. But I think they did a gender swap. One, I think, to make it, I think one and Homelander and Stormfront already have a confrontational relationship probably to begin with, and this one character can stand alone. But also to make it a woman, to like even make it even more like kicking Homelander as far as his ego and everything. Just add that dynamic to it as well.
Right, because he's very much on that same level that the Deep is with how he treats women, and what we have playing out with Becca and Ryan is pretty much domestic abuse. And a child witnessing that. So I think knowing that storyline too fed into that decision to do the to cast her as female, and Aya so far is doing a great job with this role, and I think it's really gonna help. But isn't it? It's also interesting because with Kimiko, the first season, it was such a big deal for the boys to have a female.
Yeah, it was.
And now, because Stormfront, she kills Kenji, Kimiko gets away because, and oddly enough, I would have never said this in any other episode, but the only reason why Kimiko gets away is because Homelander shows up. And right there we have a rivalry born between Kimiko Stormfront and also Homelander and Stormfront. And I love that ending where she is talking to the doing the publicity, and he's in the background.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just so. Yeah, that was just beautifully. I mean, I have to say the third of the episodes so far, the third one's been my favorite of the season to date. And that ending, you're so right. I mean, that press conference where the corporation, Edgar's back, and he talks about, they decide which route they're going to go as far as the story about Compound V, and then how, basically again, to save the bottom line, but then also putting the new soup up, who just happens to be a white supremacist, as the new face of the franchise, and again, Edgar was the one who picked her without consulting Homelander. So again, exerting his influence and his authority over Homelander to again show him who is boss at Vought.
Yeah. Who is boss at Vought? Say that 10 times fast.
Oh, I'm not going to.
God,
yeah.
Well, she's not boss yet. She had one big save, but and Homelander, I can't keep going. He's not.
But
he's not one to be overshadowed.
He's not. He's not. But I think it was more. My point was more Edgar showing Homelander, who, even though Stormfront's not the boss, but Edgar is just basically, it's like, look, this reminded Homelander who's in charge here. It's not you.
Oh, well, and don't forget, Homelander was the first one to remind him, my contract is almost over.
Yep. Yep, that's true.
Your contract. That is not a family. You're not your family. There isn't a contract obligation to spend holidays with your family.
Speaking
Love isn't contracted. I don't know how to explain that. So you're a product. But what the heck would Homelander? Man, third season, are we gonna get a Homelander without Vought?
We may. Vought goes to Evil Corp.
Oh my God. It's just like when Captain America becomes Nomad, and I don't know, but you're absolutely right. This was probably, I think, third episode was my favorite, closely behind the first episode. Second episode, they did a lot, but I honestly thought it was so much of a filler.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just was not. I was like, all right, let's get to the third episode, because when things happen in the third episode, I'm all like, okay, this is what I've been waiting for.
Yeah. And somehow Joss Whedon survived the meeting with the Seven when they were casting, they were making their Justice League film.
I don't know. We never returned to that room. Okay, I am not sure. Stormfront, she might have had some words.
She may.
She did have some words. I do not know if that means he survived or not. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But all right, we have survived this recap. Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me at Will M. Polk, WILLMPOLK.
You can find me at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at Scene a Nerd. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. But most importantly, rate, subscribe, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.